Good morning, everyone, to those of you who are connecting from Europe, and a very good afternoon to those of you who are connecting with us from Asia. Today, we are beginning the individual presentation of the cross-faculty dialogue phase round 2. So to those of you who started the round 1, really a special thanks to you. And now we will today start with our 5 fantastic speakers, however, 4 institutions from Asia and Europe. So they will take a minute to introduce themselves, so I'll not get into that. And we will have a content presentation from our speakers for 40 minutes, as usual, 10 minutes for each institution. And we will have 18 minutes of question and answer session, and then we will provide a brief summary, and then we will check out knowing what to expect next. So the topic, the questions that we will be addressing under the topic of leading change, digital transformation of education in the era of artificial intelligence are: what are the critical issues discussed at your faculty or teacher training institutions regarding digital transformation of education and AI? How do these critical issues should impact the teaching at your faculty or teacher training institution? How are these changing your pedagogy or curriculum? What are the key constraints, structural, cultural, or financial, that your faculty is facing or teacher training institution is facing to leverage on new technologies and use AI tools ethically, safely, and effectively? So today, during last session, we started with Asia. Today, we'll be starting with Europe. And we already see that our colleagues from University of Malta are already here. So I see both Patrick and Philip. So maybe we start with you. Does that sound okay? Patrick and Philip, are you here? You need to help me by saying yes or no, because I'm sharing.
Yes, I am here.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. So yes.
Patrick is here also.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that if you are presenting a PPT, then you can share, or we'll just have a conversation.
So I have some slides about each of the questions that you have asked. First of all, what are the critical issues discussed at your faculty regarding digital transformation and of education and AI? Our continuous, discussion in our faculty, both when it comes to our colleagues, during seminars, and also when it comes to develop course descriptions, it's about what we mean by a balanced digital education, which means that digital education should include one component related to pedagogies, digital pedagogies, how to use digital technologies in teaching and learning. That is one component. And the other, what I call DC, that is digital citizenship education. This is that there is many recommendations from various authorities and researchers and policy documents that digital citizenship education, how we make use ethically, securely, and in a responsible way, how we use technology and the internet, this should be part of digital education, an important component. So that is one of the main discussions. Linked to this is how much teachers are ready, readiness of teachers. What in the previous presentations, I heard a lot about competencies, competence profiles, upskilling, and all that. That is part of this readiness, because we should speak about professional qualities and professional competencies. So what qualities are needed and what competences are needed in teachers. So what would be a teacher's and educator's competence profile? Obviously, lately, we also are discussing the role of AI in education and how we can, so that is learning about AI and learning and teaching with AI. But we also should have education for AI. How are we going to educate both our academic colleagues, teachers, and students, and even parents about AI, education of AI? So I think these are the current main issues that we discuss in our faculty. How do these critical issues impact the teaching at your faculty? Obviously, we are continuously thinking out what we should train both our academic staff and teachers in. So we need professional development in professional qualities. And the other one in the next slide is going to be professional competencies. But let's focus about this. What are the qualities? One is epistemological conceptions. How today we should think about what is knowledge and how it is acquired. So this is something that teachers and the academic staff should think about. So this is an important thing that we have to provide instances of reflection about this knowledge and how it is acquired, changed in today's society, and therefore we should reflect about this. Two, probably derived from this is pedagogical conceptions. Traditionally, we thought only about teacher-centered, learning environment or teaching environment. But we need to consider other conceptions. For example, what pedagogical arrangement is AI going to create? So how are we going to conceive our classes, our learning environments, according to the different digital tools and environments that we have? The third point is attitude to digital education, including AI. And this is what perceived use do we have? How are we seeing AI and its use in teaching and learning? So this is, and that will build the attitude in us. If we pursue potential beneficial uses, then we develop a particular attitude to AI or to any other digital technology. If we have negative attitudes, we do not perceive any use, or we perceive the wrong uses, then we have different attitudes. And also perceive control. How much I am in control when I am using AI tools. It also, we discussed these when we had previous implementation of digital technology. For example, a few years ago, we introduced MS Teams in schools, and this was also the discussion there at that moment, or when you introduce tablets, okay? Again, another professional quality is openness to innovation. How much we are open to innovation. This is a professional quality, not a competence. Dedicating time to learn about new tools, experimenting with them, taking risks. You are not afraid of experimenting and taking risks of new technologies and new environments, new contexts that we have to develop. Okay, so these are the professional qualities. Then there are need for professional development in competencies now. This is what we can develop by training. So it's very important that we develop learning design competencies. We have a culture here of very good teaching design. We are very good at designing teacher-directed lessons. We excel in that in our faculty. But when we had previous instances or introduced technologies, MS Teams, as I told you, and the tablets, and now we have artificial intelligence, okay? How are we going to design these environments? And that needs design competencies, okay? Second is developing working competence with different digital tools. This is about learning about AI, for example, okay? So it's becoming digital competent in using MS Teams, in using the tablets for learning, in using AI in teaching and learning. And also promoting different digital pedagogies, learning with AI. How are we going to guide students to learn, okay? How are these changing your pedagogy curriculum? First of all, we need to shift our definition of pedagogy, moving from the traditional definition, the art and science of teaching, to the post-net conception of pedagogy, which is guiding students to learn. Teaching can be one way of student learning. So that is one important thing. Design hybrid physical and virtual learning context and blended learning experience comprising both teaching and learning. We are not advocating that we eliminate teaching, but we are advocating a blended learning experience, okay? Third point is using digital tools according to the type and mode of learning. This is about digital pedagogies. If I want to develop collaborative learning, what tools should I use? If I want to have a game-based learning experience, if I want to use AI, okay, to learn what? And to learn how? Am I going to present, learning of any subject content, okay, in an explorative mode, in a game-based mode, in a collaborative mode, in a designing mode? So this is how we use digital. Then we also need to redefine, because the question was about changing the curriculum. Redefine the content of the curriculum to include subject learning, digital competences. When you say competence, I mean knowledge, skill, and attitude. And digital citizenship education, ethical, safe, and effective of digital technologies. And another slide is, what are the key constraints? First of all, is the epistemological dilemma. What is knowledge and how it is acquired in the digital era? This is something that needs to be discussed and opened up both with our colleagues at the faculty and with teachers, and also with those concerned in education. Also, the limited pedagogical conceptions that we can have. For example, at this moment, probably many teachers and many of our colleagues do not have a vast array of how we can use AI, or how at that time we could have used MS Teams. This might come by time, exposure, and experimentation, And so, second, the third point is, the concern is, when we have fixed minds versus growth mindsets. You have teachers, okay, probably it is a little bit age-related, this, and they want to remain in their zone of comfort. What they used to do, they will not change it. And they would not like to take risks and be innovative. Again, another thing is lack of perceived control regarding digital tools, considering students more tech-savvy and confident with digital technologies. This fear of technology, this apprehension of technology, we find in many, especially old teachers and people. And the last point I would like to mention is lack of competence. And again, I define competence as knowledge skill in digital citizenship education. Many times we have been trained in using digital tools, but not in how to use them ethically, safely, and effectively. And again, this applies to AI. if we are going to start speaking about using AI, in parallel to that, in parallel to the pedagogy, are we going to start developing the competences, the knowledge about AI, the skill in using AI, and the right attitudes in using AI? I leave some time for Patrick to comment, okay?
Thank you, Philip. We are almost, a few minutes over time, but that's okay since you were first. What we see from your presentation that at the University of Malta, from your perspective, we see that there is a very strong emphasis on professional development. And what we saw that you were focusing on changing from the pedagogical concept from the art of teaching and learning to guiding students. I think that's really, really crucial. Maybe during question and answer session, we can talk about that more. So thank you so much. And now we will hear from Dr. Wayne Holmes from University College London. So Philip, if you could stop sharing your slides so that if Wayne has any slides, he can start sharing his screen.
Okay, so as Jyoti said, I'm from University College London, where I am an associate professor. And before I talk more about my university, I thought I should just quickly mention what I do myself. So I've been involved in AI in education for a long time now. And I've published all these publications, which I'm very proud of. The one I'm most proud of is the one on the far right, which I will talk about very briefly later on. So University College London, I'm very proud to be part of it, and it has an amazing reputation. I have to say that none of the reputation is from me, but what's kind of cool about it is it was the first place in England to welcome students of any religion or social background. So whereas most were only there for people who were trying to train to be part of the church. It was also the first university in England to welcome women into universities, the first to teach different languages and chemistry and engineering. It prides itself on this brave and progressive approach. It was also the first in England to have an open access university press. But something that it doesn't normally talk about, but I'm going to mention, it was also the home of eugenics from 1904. But the good news is that our Vice Chancellor did apologise for the history of eugenics at UCL, but as recently as 2020. Anyway, the cool thing also about UCL, which again has nothing to do with me, is the fact that in the world it usually ranks quite highly, and so UCL, very keen to promote this kind of thing. So, number 8 in the world. Now we all know these ranking systems don't actually mean a great deal, but I say UCL loves to say this. And what's interesting is when you actually re-rank these according to the amount of money that these universities have, UCL actually comes out top, because whereas the American universities like MIT and Harvard and Caltech have loads and loads and loads and loads of money, UCL's money is relatively small. Now, I'm not apologizing for that or making big claims. What I'm saying is this, that it shows you that actually the amount of money you have isn't directly related to the quality of work that you can produce. So I think that's a really important thing for smaller universities around the world. So a bunch of other facts that it's very proud of: 30 Nobel laureates, second in the UK for research power. And when you consider some of the other universities we have, Cambridge, Imperial, Oxford, etc. 430 undergraduate programs, 51,000 students. I'm one of 16,000 employees, and so on and so on and so on. Although I said we were relatively poor compared to those others in that list, nevertheless, the income is actually, from a world's perspective, it's particularly high. And this is a mixture of income from research, but also income from student fees. And like all universities in the UK, much of this comes from students from overseas. So in the course that I teach, that I lead on, I have, how many is it? About 65 students. And of those 65 students, almost 30 come from China. And those Chinese students are charged a very large sum of money. So that's University College London, lots of big claims, and it's where I am happy to be. But the question here is what we're doing and what's our relationship with the questions that Jyoti and team have put there. So the first one, what are the critical issues discussed at our faculty regarding digital transformation of education and AI? So bearing in mind that UCL is one of the, quote, leading universities in the world, the answer to this question is quite straightforward. Until the arrival of ChatGPT, very little was being discussed. Now, we have the group, the research lab that I belong to. There is a core of us, about 5 or 6, and as I showed you earlier, we've been working on the impact of digital technologies and AI in education for a long time. I've been doing it for 10 years, but some of my colleagues much longer. But we're just a small unit. So across UCL, very little. But then when ChatGPT arrived, they decided to set up an AI in education group and task that group with investigating generative AI, but also its impact on students and faculty and learning. And these are the kind of things that have been pronounced. So I'm quite pleased that this logic they've used. So very early on, UCL said this to its students: rather than seek to prohibit their use of generative AI, students and staff need to be supported in using them effectively, ethically, and transparently. So I was quite pleased that that was the attitude taken by my colleagues and my bosses above me, that actually we weren't going to just say it's all about cheating. We were thinking about it rather more proactively. So what about the second question then? How do these critical issues, how do they impact on teaching? How are they changing pedagogy and curriculum? And again, the answer is, until the arrival of ChatGPT, very little. However, the good thing is that now my colleagues are developing some guidelines, for example, on assessment best practices. But we are also looking at a variety of other issues, but it's the assessment best practices that have really come to the fore. So as a teacher, be really clear how far, if at all, your students may use AI tools, and that they must clearly acknowledge their use. So we're not saying you can't use them, we're saying use them, but be very clear about how you are using them. Consider how much an essay, so this is to the teacher, so the essays that you're asking your students to write, how much are they recall or fact-based? And how can you adjust those essay requirements to make them more higher order? And then consider how you can add a twist or a subtle nuance to a question that means the student has to do something a little bit different in order to get higher marks. So these are just some examples of the kind of ways in which we as faculty members are being encouraged to think about our assessments in order to move forward. So finally, then, the third question, what are the key constraints that your faculty is facing? And here we have the 3 categories: structural, cultural, and financial. And, in short and summary, all 3 of those. So structurally, how are we going to reconfigure assessment? How are we going to reconfigure the ways in which students can work towards qualifications? Really important questions that are being discussed, but no answers as yet. Cultural, there are a lot of teachers, as we heard from our colleagues from Malta, there are big cultural issues here. People are panicking about, oh my God, this is overturning the way I've been teaching for the past 20 odd years. What do we do about that? We did a survey, well, I didn't do a survey, college did a survey of students, and they came out with the answer that students are very happy that they have the opportunity to use these tools, but they're very unhappy when faculty use these tools, for example, in feedback to student work. And financial, what does it mean? Nobody knows. So these are all issues that we're going through. Now, moving quickly on, one piece of work I did want to mention is this, and this is work that's coming out of the small lab that I mentioned, where we've been looking at AI in education for a long time. So we're working with the Council of Europe, and what's cool about this is last year we published this report, which I mentioned at the very beginning, and this is probably one of the pieces of writing I'm most proud of because of the way that we're looking at a variety of issues and thinking about AI in education, but through that lens of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. So I'm only going to summarize some of it. So we argue that we need more evidence and less hyperbole. We argue that we need appropriate regulation, that we should avoid automating poor pedagogic practices, that the curricula about AI, learning about AI, should address both the human and the technical dimensions of AI. In addition, that we should be ensuring that the use of AI, the development of AI for use in education should be ethical by design, that we should adopt multidisciplinary approaches, and that we should be thinking about AI in education that prioritizes and facilitates human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. So how are we going about this? Well, back in 2001, the expert group was set up. Last year, we had a big conference and we published the report I just shown you. And then this year, in September, we're having, or they will be having a meeting of every Council of Europe education minister. That's 46 countries across Europe. And they will be considering a resolution, which is this. And this is a resolution, they're looking at 4 resolutions. Ours is resolution 3. And it's simply the ministers instructing the Council of Europe to develop a legally binding instrument on the use of AI systems in education that protect and promote human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. But in addition, to develop a recommendation to ensure that the teaching and learning about AI incorporates the impact of AI on human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, etc. So then the following year, we'll be doing evidence gathering. Then there will be a full meeting of the Council of Europe. This is the really top level. And hopefully at that, we will be presenting our legal instrument and hopefully they will agree it. And then the following year, we spend our time disseminating that around Europe and beyond. My reason, my jet lag is I was in Colombia and they have published our report and they've given it to all of their faculty members, which I'm really proud of. So it's available for free here and I hope you all have a chance to read it. Anyway, thank you very much. That's from me and UCL.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you so much for in the beginning giving us the background information on UCL, which really helps us to kind of understand what's going on at your institution. Perhaps you can share some of the link that you mentioned in your slide in the chat box, in case our colleagues want to, browse through the publications you just mentioned. So with that, I'm pretty sure all of you also have questions for Wayne. We will address them during the question and answer session. Now, let's move on to Asia. So let's invite our colleague, Dr. Hewson, and from Jeollabuk to Gwangju Office of Education. So Hewson, the floor is yours. You can share your screen. You are on mute. Perfect. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Before I start my presentation, I need to ask you a favor. Actually, today we have a very heavy rain, and so the connection is really stable. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, I'd like to start with the office of the logo of my office, Jeollabuk, Gwangju Office of Education. Yeah. So I work at Field of Education, and we work between the Ministry of Education of Korea and the school in Wonju districts. So our initial crucial role is to implementing education policies, and also we provide services, educational services with in the Wonju area.
Hyo-san, can you hear us? I see you again here.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
But it disconnects very often. I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
maybe
of
you
the
can, yeah. Maybe you can share the slide with us later. We will share with the participants. Maybe you can just summarize the 3 key points.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anyway, I'm going to go very fast. Yeah. So new curriculum, the revised curriculum of South Korea is mainly focused on the growing the citizens with the capabilities to be future ready. So our future students to have digital literacy, and we'd like to provide our students with a personalized learning environment, the digital learning environment, and we focus on developing some kind of teaching and learning methods and evaluation system for technology advanced classes. Yeah.
Apologies. I think Hyo-san, from her side, I think the internet issue is really is not very good. So perhaps we can start with Rini. Are you ready to present, Rini?
So I just try to share.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Jyoti, and everyone. Hello, good afternoon from Indonesia. My name is Rini. I'm coming from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Well, not like all of you. My background is not IT or AI development or AI faculty lecture. I'm come from a science education faculty. Well, just like all of you in my country also in Indonesia, digital transformation or AI in education also become what this is focus discussion in seminar, in national seminar, in webinar, international conference, and then also talk show, guest lecture, student competition, and also a webinar. They start to focus on the theme of digital transformation and AI itself. This event cover various aspects from introducing what AI is, and then how digital transformation occur, and then also explore how practical opportunities and challenge of digital transformation and AI in education and also in research. But beside that, also how we as a faculty member maintain the development of student character despite the presence of AI. So this is some point that we discuss in our activity in our faculty. How is the access and equity, and then how is the pedagogical shift, just like a previous speaker, and then what kind of teacher training model should be developed, and then what is how about ethical consideration. I think this is the point which is many of us discuss. And maybe for Indonesia, digital literacy still also discussed, because this is the basic, I think, literacy that should be belong to our student and also to the faculty member. And how is the future workforce about AI? How do these critical issues should impact the teaching at your faculty and teacher training institution, and how are this changing your pedagogy and curriculum? Well, actually, our university incorporate the use of technology into the program to model effective instructional practice, but it's still on process. And then now our university include digital literacy in curriculum for all students in university. Faculty also emphasize the development of digital pedagogical skill. Faculty provide educatory training, but it's still also on process and still limited to the faculty of computer science, not other faculty. Educators equipped with strategies for utilizing the adaptive learning platform and intelligent tutoring system. And then educators still learn how to interpret and use the data effectively to inform instructional decision, and then how to monitor student progress. Maybe that's impact of teaching at our faculty. And then the third question, what are the constraints that your faculty is facing to leverage on new technology and use AI tool ethically, safely, and effectively? Infrastructure and access to technology, maybe for our university, for our faculty, become a constraint, significant constraint. And then also how our university ensure equal access to the new technology for all the students, not only for computer science students, and not also for only for faculty educator in computer science. And then the third one, financial constraint also become our focus. And then how the teacher require proper training and professional development opportunities, because actually our government right now open all opportunities for teacher training free, but I think for digital literacy still not focused anyway, because in Indonesia right now we have new curriculum Merdeka. So our government, I mean, right now still focused on that new curriculum, I think. And then next is how is the ethical use of AI tool in education also become the constraint, because because we don't have any policy actually about the implementation of AI tool itself. Integration of new technology and AI tool often require a cultural shift. Well, I think it happened in our university. And then the last one, assessing the effectiveness and impact of new technology and AI tool in teaching, I think is crucial. So what is the assessment we need? What kind of assessment that we have to develop to find out the effectiveness or the impact of the AI itself? Maybe that's all, Jyoti. Thank you from Indonesia.
Jyoti, you're muted.
Thank you, Angie. So thank you so much, Rini. A lot of, really interesting insights to talk about. Since Hyo-san, she is facing some issues, I'm going to quickly share my screen to show her slide and perhaps try to summarize what she wanted to present. So let me quickly, do you see my screen? Just to quickly check, Hyo-san, are you here? Okay. So from our colleague from Korea, we see that Korea had a revised curriculum in 2022, where citizens with capabilities to be future ready is emphasized. And with that, they're focusing on digital literacy and personalized learning in digital learning environment. I think Wayne will have an opinion about it. Maybe you can ask Hyo-san regarding personalized learning and development of teaching and learning methods, and as well as evaluation system. And the second one, so she's part of the Wonju Office of Education, where they're focusing on rapidly establishing technology integrated classrooms and focusing on distributing tablet and personal computers and laptops to students, and also to install a smart blackboard and blackboard suitable for digital classrooms. And finally, to provide teachers with teacher training courses for a smart use of AI in the classroom. And for the next one, what are the key constraints, the final one, that higher education office is facing to leverage on technologies and use AI tools ethically, safely, and effectively? So here, the first one is lack of teacher education versus rapid pace of government-driven policy. Maybe we can talk more about rapid pace of government-driven policy, because I'm definitely curious. So maybe Houston, if the internet is working, you can tell us about it. Teachers, I think I agree with that, that teachers need time to stop and think and figure out how they want to build their competencies as well as support their students. And finally, students are more adept in using smart devices. So that's it from our colleague from Korea. And now let's start. Did I miss anything, Houston? Hopefully I was able to summarize, the key points.
Yeah. So you, successfully point out all the key points. Because of the unstable internet connection, actually I missed most of the part of this session. I'm really sorry about that. But you just pointed out that, everything I mentioned in the slide. Actually, what I feel as a supervisor working in the education office as a constraint at this point is that there's a really big discrepancy between the educational policy and the teachers at the working at the schools. Yeah, actually, especially this year, everything is going too fast. Yeah, and before we considering and discuss seriously on the issues of using AI in our classrooms, all the smart devices and technologies just pouring into our classrooms without, giving us any time to think about how we use AI in our classrooms and how to teach our students. So that is really is a big issue in Wanzhou Office of Education. So I'd like to set up a forum or the discussion session with our teachers, in Wanzhou district. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Did you hear me?
Yes, perfect. So now we have about 12 minutes. So hopefully we can have a rapid question and answer session. And maybe since we are a very small group, maybe I encourage you to also turn on your video so that, the conversation is more interactive. So please go ahead. Whoever wants to go first with the question. I don't see any hand raised or anything. I see some comments from chat box. Let me quickly. I see that Margot's turned on his video. Maybe you have a question?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I like to thank everyone for very good presentations, and I know that you share those presentations later, and we can follow up with different questions.
I would like to ask our colleague from Malta, Philippe, if you could tell us a bit more about the distinction you made when it comes to pedagogy, moving from the art of teaching and learning to guiding students. Are you taking any specific initiative to focus on that, to create, for example, capacity building program for teachers in Malta, or are there any government regulations to kind of focus on that?
Can you repeat the question?
So you talked about changing, shifting the pedagogy, the way you were thinking about pedagogy from art of teaching and learning to guiding students. So in a way, it's also about student-centered learning, right? But in the context of AI and in the context of supporting teachers building competencies, what are you currently doing so that teachers know how to guide students, and that the pedagogical shift is happening in that way?
Basically, we have to. This is quite a challenging task here, but I'm pointing at it all the time. We have to redesign the curriculum in terms of learning activities. For example, when our students go to schools for the teaching practice, okay? They are assigned a part of the curriculum that they need to deliver. And obviously, the normal way to do that was go back home and change that chunk of the curriculum into lessons. And now with this, all this happening, I mean, the MS Teams, students at schools have their own tablets or laptops meant to be a learning tool, not only a teaching tool. So I think the next step is we have to decide what type of learning we would like to promote in the curriculum, not only by teaching, learning by exploration, learning by collaboration, learning by designing, learning in different ways, you know. And we have to go back to the curriculum and redesign it, considering these modes of learning in mind. So I always advocate that the chunk of the curriculum that you are given to deliver during the teaching practice should include both learning by instructions, that is teaching, lessons to be delivered, but also a balance of learning activities to be carried out by students. That definition of pedagogy, guiding students to learn, that comes from recent literature, especially by Beaton and Sharp, who went back to the epistemology of the word pedagogy, what it meant in the Greek times, and it meant that the teacher or the person in charge used to guide the students to learn, not act as a teacher. So this is the best role that we should adopt as teachers in this structuring learning, designing learning environments to be managed by the students.
Thank you, Philip. I see that Margus and Jyotsna raise their hands. So Margus, you first, and then Jyotsna. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I heard that in Indonesia and in Korea, you already have new curricula established quite recently. And actually in Estonia, we also started with a new curriculum this spring. But actually in our case, the update wasn't so much as expected, so that we didn't have many changes in towards using technology more effectively in education, and nothing about AI. And now I hear that in Malta you also are talking about change of the curriculum. So that is it possible that you can share somehow those changes a bit more precisely? What has been changed? Maybe you can talk a bit about this, but maybe something is also written in English or in some languages that we understand. So that would be interesting.
What I do is I use the situation. I have students, they take a course in designing technology enhanced learning. This is the courses I deliver. They have two courses: one, introduction to technology enhanced learning, and two, designing technology enhanced learning. And what I do in this course, designing in the technology enhanced learning, is I help them take that part of the curriculum that they are assigned, and we discuss what learning activities we can do. They can develop. It is a terribly difficult thing, very difficult. I always think I'm fighting a lost battle in this, because it's very, very, very difficult to move people, to tell them, look, change your model of professional practice. That is terribly difficult. I find it difficult with my colleagues at faculty. I kept preaching for years what we should do with regards to technology. Then, thanks to COVID, many of those things had to be done. So I always consider, I always tell my colleagues, oh, that blessing in disguise of COVID for me, because what I used to preach had to be done. We were compelled to do it by COVID. And for me, COVID was really a very good experience in this aspect, you know, because then I had to guide my colleagues how to do technology-enhanced learning and how to design learning activities. And they themselves arrived at the situation that teaching, delivering lessons online does not work. Many of them told me, we have to go to learning activities approach. And this is what they did. And now what I do is, with my students in these courses, I tell them, look, there is also this alternative. We should work at this. I do not have the power to go to schools and tell them, look, you have to change the curriculum organization and go to a learning activities approach. But wherever I have the chance to do it, when I have discussions, for example, with the education authorities, when I have discussions with teachers during staff development sessions, and when I have discussions at our university, you know, and with my students, I promote this, and I use the COVID experience to sort of reinforce more my argument about this.
Thank you, Philip. Yeah,
it is an uphill struggle. Eh? It is not easy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Looking at the time, we have only a few minutes. I quickly want to hear from Jyotsna and give Hussein the floor to, I think, Margus, you also wanted to know about if there are any results from the curriculum changes in Korea, right? So maybe Hussein, you can quickly comment on that.
Yeah, curriculum change.
Yeah,
changes
and if
in
there
Korean.
are insights, what happened, if it's available in English or if there are any relevant.
Yeah, actually, I just looking up the links to the Ministry of Education in Korea. So here I'd like to share the links, but I'm not sure whether it works properly or not. Yeah.
Okay, then maybe.
Yeah. And sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
This is the kind of outline of the new revised curriculum. Yeah, but we have just, I mean, we have no, I don't think if we have some kind of English version of the revised curriculum. So it's just an outline in English. Yeah. So if I given a chance, then I'd like to look it up, and I'd like to send it to Margus and any other, I mean, the members
that would be lovely.
Who are interested in the Korean curriculum. Yeah.
Of course, that would be lovely. Thank you so much, Hussein. Just now, would you like to ask your question now?
If we're running out of time, I could ask it next week. It's okay.
It's okay. Go ahead. We can take a few more minutes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Mine is a very basic question. I'm asking this because we have an international audience forum here, and also because we had difficulties, technical difficulties. So given that the technological and physical access is different in the developed and developing countries, even within the developed countries, between the normal and crisis times like Korea is going through right now, floods, and also the urban-rural divide, where cities are where policy is being set, the universities are being there first. It's still, what do you think, all the speakers here, what do you think is the primary reason we should use AI in education, given the technological divide? And second, if we do make AI in education the norm, are we increasing this divide?
So, yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the main questions I'm thinking of while I'm working this year. Yeah, so as I said, as I mentioned in the beginning, so here in Korea, all the schools, elementary schools and middle schools, we are in chaos. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when teachers feel a lot of pressure, yeah, so they, I mean, should learn how to use AI in their classrooms, but some of the teachers, they are against using AI in their classroom setting. Yeah, so I think, as Josna mentioned, the why we should use AI in our classroom is the question we should think about very carefully. Yeah, so I personally think we should I mean, use AI in the classrooms for our future generations, because in the future, they are going to be exposed in the, I mean, technology abundant environment. That's why we'd like to give them opportunities to learn about how to use AI in our societies. But even though I admit that part, I still think we need to so maintain our mindset in a right way. So I think to be a global citizen, to have a global citizenship mindset is really important. After experiencing, I mean, the Corona session and the Ukrainian war, I think it is really important for us to, I mean, live in harmony with the other members in the world. And I think it's a kind of matter of survival. Yeah, so I think it's really practical issues in our educational setting. And I think the using AI with that kind of mindset, clear mindset, I mean, we should know what we can achieve through AI use in educational setting. So I think with that kind of clear mindset, we should, and based on the educational philosophy, I think we should, I mean, continue our policy, educational policy. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hyo-sun. So we are running out of time. Thank you so much for staying for a few more minutes. Really appreciate it. I think I don't have anything to add, and if you also don't have anything to add, maybe Rekha, you can, if you have any quick comments. But before that, I would just like to mention that we will be hearing from our colleagues from Philippine Normal University and Ministry of Education Malaysia, from Asian representatives during next session, round 3 on 25th of July. And then we'll be also hearing from our, again, colleagues from Malta, from the Directorate for Digital Literacy and Transversal Skills associated with the Ministry of Education and University of Amsterdam. So with that, thank you so much. Rekha, would you like to add anything?
No, thank you so much. I would like to thank all the participants for this lovely session. I was actively listening here in the background, and it was very, very interesting. So look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Rekha. So with the, you know, the closing note, I think now that you get to hear from each other, you can already think of the collaboration in action ideas for the third phase. So with that, thank you. And in Europe, please have a great day. And in Asia, let's have a great evening. Thank you.